Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We have a special guest today, our debut fantasy author, Brower, and she's here to talk to us about her book, The God of Moonlight and Stardust, which is the first in the Daughters of Chaos series. This book has it all: forbidden magic, gods, fae, and a heroine caught between power and destiny. Mina's journey from being a lawyer to an author is just as inspiring as the worlds she creates. And we can't wait to dive into all things fantasy, storytelling, and what's next for her series. So please welcome to Fiction Fanatics, Mina.
Thank you. You said that beautifully. I don't know what else I could add. It's beautiful.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm so happy to sit down and have an opportunity to chat with you. So thank you.
Yes, we're so
Thank you for being
excited.
on.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your debut novel that came out? A little synopsis, maybe, something like that?
Yes. So
Okay.
the story follows Rena Strongborn, who is a daughter of a villain, villainous god. And this is set in a post-apocalyptic setting. So the book takes place about 2,000 years after humans abandoned the Milky Way galaxy, and they're now in the Andromeda galaxy, and the particular setting where this human planet is located has banned magic and religion and all sorts of spirituality. So we have Rena Strongborn, who has these inexplicable powers in a society where is not authorized to access them. So she starts going through these very scary moments on her university campus. She happens to be a PhD student because we love older FMCs. And then she decides that she either accesses her power to um, bring about change, or she can work to keep the status quo and suppress her magic. And there are different, very attractive male characters that help her sort of find her way and what she wants to do. So it's sort of her journey through either accepting her legacy or carving her own path. So
Yeah, well,
That sounds incredible.
You said that very well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
Right up
like,
our alley.
I was gonna say, yeah, like sounds like amazing books that we love to read. Super excited to read, and like our readers or our listeners love to read. So yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
It's just such an so interesting to hear about, and the fact that it's your debut novel
Yeah,
to be seems really cool.
thank
So
you.
when did it officially drop?
August of 2024.
Okay.
August, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's super
So
exciting.
what's like your inspiration behind the book, and since it's continuing on as the series, what inspired you to write it?
So, I'm gonna get a little cheesy right now, but my grandfather, later in life, after he retired, he became a writer, and he always loved sci-fi. He always loved fantasy, and I was the oldest granddaughter, so I would always be there sitting next to him, listening to all these like crazy stories and just amazing stories about different planets and astral traveling, and all of these
Hmm.
terms that as a child you're like, what is that? And then I also loved, sci-fi movies like Star Wars and shows like Star Trek and Stargate and all these things. And I think adding in my love of mythology and my love of gods and pantheons, I was like, what would it be? What would it be like to have gods and these type of pantheons in a post-apocalyptic setting? And what if that setting didn't allow for the belief in those gods or in the use of magic? Because magic exists no matter where you are. The gods will always exist. The gods are eternal. So what would that look like? And I obviously threw in a little bit of conflict with, this legacy of this very evil character. And then the story just kind of piece itself together. So.
Cool, very cool.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like
So,
that. I love your
so
inspiration with your family too.
yeah. Did your grandfather get to write any books or anything like that?
He did. He did.
Okay.
He didn't publish them, so they're
Yeah.
all like bound, and he was really cute and like went to like a little press and he bound his books, but he never published them. But yeah, he had a little he shed or instead of he shed in the backyard, and he had a little desktop and he would just like write. So Yeah.
I love that he had them bound. So they are
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
published for him. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Self-published.
yeah, they're not for
Self-published.
sale, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and Stacy, she like binds books as well, so
Hmm.
that's like really precious for her. So
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
she knows how to do that.
Yeah, he has like the clear plastic cover on them because it's like a Kinko's bind, with the little
Oh yes.
spiral.
The little spirals.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, so precious.
Um, so when you're writing out, we like to ask our authors, do you have, I feel like everyone has like a different process. So when you have this idea, do you have a certain way that you like to write or outline or anything like that?
So I'm very much the term is I think pantser. So
Mhm.
I sort of have an overall idea of where I want this universe to go, and then I
Mhm.
just start writing. And I sometimes I'm writing, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Like I have an overall ending goal, but I don't really know what happens in the middle to get there. I just kind of let the ideas just flow through me and then
Mm.
onto the screen. Like yesterday, for book two, which is in edits right now with my editor,
Mhm.
I came up with this brilliant idea as I'm about to give it back to her again. So she's gonna look at a brand new section and be like, "What the hell is this?" So it's on the go. But yeah,
Mhm.
I try to have some sort of structure with like having a clear ending, a clear beginning, some sort of
Yeah.
middle, but the details they come to me. So.
I love it. It feels like you're kind of like letting it build itself. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's cool to like let it evolve on itself. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
S-
organic.
Yeah. So, what's it like getting published? How was that journey for you? Because I feel like it's always different for people. But yeah, it
Yeah.
always sounds kind of challenging too.
It
And
is
then,
very, very challenging because
Yeah.
I mean, you have to make so many choices that if you were in a probably traditional publish, they would make for you, like the
Hmm.
mhm,
white glove service. So for me, it was very daunting, very challenging. I did have incredible fellow author mentors to sort of guide me. I had a friend, Sarah Yeager, who writes paranormal romance. She
Mm.
she had like a Zoom call with me, and she's like, "All right, let's go through what you need to do." And we were like having like Amazon like the portal open, and she's like, "You're gonna click this,
Hmm.
and you're gonna click this." So I had her incredible support, and then I think just through the connections you make, it's all networking. You find
Yeah.
someone that like does a blurb and like, oh, this person, will help you with the blurb. And this person, so it's very much a jigsaw puzzle, like a very tight-knit community-oriented process. But it is very challenging because you're having to make these long-term decisions that, as a first-time small business owner, because this is what it is,
Hmm.
it could be very intimidating. So,
mhm,
yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah,
bet. Yeah.
yeah, and like you said, you don't know what you're doing yet. You're like
Right.
taking advice from other people. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you
Do you
feel like you've learned, I'm sure learned a lot, and have have you mentored like other self-published indie authors along the
Yes.
way?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
people reach out to me like, "Hey, so how do I set up like Ingram Spark, or how do I set up, because I do Amazon and Ingram Spark to do the wider distribution for the
Hmm.
paperbacks through the libraries and all of that." And so I have to, make sure that I have my notes on the side so that if someone contacts me, I'm like, "Yeah, you can just this is the option you want," or like, "This is how you get a barcode to put in the back of the books. This is a website
Hmm.
you want to use." So it's very much of giving and receiving because we're sort of all in this together. We're all
Yeah.
creators, and I think if one of us succeeds, all of us succeed. So
Mhm.
Hmm.
that's very much the mindset that I have. That first, and also I wanted to add to that something that I always say is that we as humans, as a human race, we are natural born storytellers. That is the way
Hmm.
our race has survived through
Hmm.
ancient times, through oral storytelling, written storytelling, or picture, drawing on caves. Like telling stories is our legacy, is our human right. And I think once we realize that we're more connected than not, and that we can build a community, it's so beautiful to see it come together. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's awesome that you're able to like to help others, like keep, like you said, keep it going and
Yeah.
build that community. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just great to get more stories out there because I just think there are so many people who have great things to say, great
Yes.
stories to tell, these great characters that people can be inspired by. And the whole process can seem so daunting, even from like people who are somewhat familiar. Not that any of us have ever wrote a book or published, but just talking to various authors and like looking into it, it seems like it can be so daunting. And we've
Yes.
heard from other people that they've had friends who write books or published talk them through it, and it's just like really refreshing to hear people lifting people up instead of trying to make the space limited.
Right.
You know what I
Because
mean?
we're
So
we're all entitled. We're all entitled to have a voice. We're all entitled. No story is going
yeah.
to be different. I had
Hmm.
a really good friend of mine. Um, she said to me, you can write she said I can write a vampire book and you can write a
Hmm.
vampire book and she's also an author. She's Molly Tullis. You should check out her books, which I'm sure you've
Okay.
heard. So she said, I can write a vampire book and you can write a vampire book, and they will be
Hmm.
completely different because it's two different voices, two different life experiences, and the characters will come through the page completely differently. So I
Yeah.
think when we start looking at it like, first of all, it's your human right as a human being to tell these stories
Hmm.
because that's what we've done. And second of all, your life experiences and what you bring to the table matter. So I
Yes.
think
Hmm.
once we start looking at it like that, it's like changes the ball game completely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
definitely.
true. That's awesome. So we can just like talk about that if you're cool with it. Do you have any favorite books that you really love that maybe you draw inspiration from? And we also love like getting recs from our authors. It sounds like you've
Yeah.
already mentioned some that we're definitely gonna look into. So
Yeah. So I love Deborah Harkness. I love her Discovery of Witches trilogy.
I just
Yes.
watched the show.
I
I
know.
had
I know.
I
Matthew Good.
I'm
Uh,
so sorry. I'm not trying to cut you off. I've already like put the books on reserve on Libby. My friend
They've been
Nora
on
has
my
been telling
TBR forever.
yeah.
yeah, my friend Nora told me to watch the show forever ago. I'm not
Yes.
trying to get too
Oh
excited.
yeah, I remembered this and I didn't watch it
I
yet.
finally watched it. I was like, am I how did I wait? It's just
Where
been
is
said
Matthew?
it just sets on Netflix. How are more people not talking about this? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so I don't even know how I discovered the book. I think it was through like an email blast. You know how you sign up for like different like
Yeah.
newsletters or whatever. Or maybe it was like through Target. I don't know, but it
Hmm.
was I discovered the book and I said, okay, it's a trilogy, so I'm just gonna buy the box.
Yeah.
This was pre-COVID. And and then I realized that Sundance, which was the original like TV production company, so
Hmm.
like Indie Sundance, because it was like an indie TV show, they were
Hmm.
producing it, and that the only way I could watch it was through Prime. So I like subscribed to Sundance to watch it, and obsessed. Um,
Hmm.
and so yeah, I recommend that. I think seeing how Deborah made the female main character in that series also a PhD student and also an older
Yes.
FMC, that
Hmm.
gave me the confidence to say, wait a minute, I can like there's I'm, in my mid 30s. I have all
Hmm.
of these life experiences. I think other women that are my age who, maybe have a degree or multiple degrees or maybe have kids,
Hmm.
like I think they can potentially relate to like an older female main character. So
Hmm.
that series definitely gave me the confidence to do that. I also always recommend Constance Sayers. She is an incredible author. Constance Sayers has a book called A Witch in Time.
Hmm.
So good. It is like a
Hmm.
time traveling witch. And
Hmm.
um I don't even want to give it away, but
Hmm.
it's not like the time traveler's wife. It's not like that. It's
Hmm.
completely different. And she's a very hot like uh man guiding her through these lifetimes.
Love.
So
Hmm.
yes,
Okay, okay.
That's
definitely.
awesome.
That's the book that like if you're gonna be at my house for Christmas, I'm
Hmm.
gonna give you that book for as a present. Like that's the
Okay.
book I always give. So
Okay.
yeah.
Good
Okay. It's definitely
recommendation.
going on the TBR then.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
But I think it's incredible, and I think there's something to be said because we're all in our 30s too
Yeah.
here. I think this is just personally, I feel like societal wise, it's like once women hit 30s, even now, even though it's crazy, it's like, oh, you should be starting all this stuff in your 20s, this writing and stuff. And to see more stories with women in their 30s with careers, trying to balance it all, doing it all, it's so empowering. It's like reading these imperfect, strong female characters written by these strong
Mhm.
women.
Yeah.
So I
Our
agree.
life isn't
Yeah.
over. I think our life,
No.
yeah, our life has just started. I think for 20s,
Mm-hmm.
we're figuring everything out.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mhm.
think we are, we may think we know it all when we're 20 because we're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, but we in actuality we don't. I think when the woman hits 30, I think a lot of things come into perspective and you're like, shit, I'm gonna
Yes.
be 40 in 10 years? Like what the fuck? So
Yes.
yeah, I think when we're in
Mm-hmm.
30s, we start really being conscious of like either
Like,
friendships or how we're spending our time, what
Yes.
we're
Mm-hmm.
consuming, whether it's, any sort of consuming. Um,
mhm.
but I think we have so much life experience to look forward and also to
Mm-hmm.
talk about that we've been through.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
a little bit segue, but also it's kind of a piggyback off of this. What inspired you to make the transition, or you might still be, from like being a lawyer to like start writing books, or what was that? Maybe it was being 30.
Yeah. So backtracking really quickly, I think like a lot of authors will say I love writing when I was a kid. Same thing with me. Um, I I immigrated here to the United States with my parents when I was a child. And the advocacy I had to do as like an immigrant for my parents, like I was also learning English at the same time, but I think kids
Mm-hmm.
grasp English much more quicker
Mhm.
because our brains are like little sponges. So
Mhm.
my parents would say, "Can you translate this?" or "Can you go to the grocery store and do and like help me with this whatever, translation."
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how the lawyer in me came about, very learning advocacy at a very young age. But at the
Mhm.
same time, while I was like doing this family teamwork, I
Mm-hmm.
also loved reading because I was reading all the time to like learn English. So I would do a lot of story writing on my family desktop, and my parents were like, "Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good hobby, but like we want you to be a doctor, a lawyer, like
Yep.
really fulfill this American dream, like picture that a lot of immigrants have."
Mhm.
So I wasn't really allowed to ever veer on that path of writing. And I think because of my love of writing, I became a lawyer. So like it was like a pressure cooker of all of these things that I loved. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, we'll do lawyer because I can't do math. So let's try law.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
so sorry, can't do chemistry.
Yeah.
And so became a lawyer, and I never gave up on that love of writing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it wasn't until I was in postpartum therapy for my child when I gave birth that my
Mm-hmm.
therapist said, "Hey, so why don't we try to process these feelings through writing?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, okay, like someone's actually giving me the permission to be creative and to
Mm-hmm.
take and to write, my feelings." Because I had gone through like this horrible infertility chapter in my life. So my
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
doctor was like, "You have all these feelings of anger, of happiness, of sadness. Let's just write them down." And I think that's when I made the shift while I was postpartum to
Mm-hmm.
give writing a shot, and permit myself to have fun with writing and not be so
Mhm.
rigid in it from a professional daytime lawyer
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And I'm still practicing law. I
Mm-hmm.
write in the night in the nighttime while my husband is putting our child to sleep, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just sort of like a transitioning, but still, practicing law.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you
long story.
eventually want to be a full-time author? Would that be like the ultimate goal?
I think it would be incredible. I think, any job that, because being a lawyer is so demanding.
Yeah.
I was explaining to my toddler who does not understand because her brain is not developed. I was like, "Mommy is a lawyer, and mommy has like 100 people yelling at her in this ear,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have our family right here who need me, who are equally or more important. And then I have all my law stuff, which is, so I think eventually transitioning to full-time writing would be the most beneficial from like a family standpoint. It would allow me
Mm-hmm.
a lot more flexibility.
Mhm.
But potentially doing law in more freelance style,
Mhm.
where I can pick and choose my clients.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that would be so awesome. And like
Yeah,
fun.
that's cool.
Fun, right?
I know we just started this interview and we just met you like 15 minutes ago. You sound like the most incredible woman.
I know.
Like,
Thank you.
Seriously.
I mean, already from like the little stuff we read prepping for the interview and everything, but I don't know, like the vibe, you just ooze this like very strong woman, trying to do it all, balance it all. It's just great. It's very inspiring to talk to you
Mhm.
already. So I just like kind of wanted to throw that in there. It's
Yeah.
Thank you.
really great. Yeah.
I've lived a
Be-
life. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, personally, I just think it's resonating with me. They know I have a toddler. I just had a daughter like 9 months ago. So you're right. It is like, and I work full time. So it's like you
Yeah.
have this part of you that's your job and other things, and then your family, and then just trying to balance it. And now I just applaud you for you've always loved to write and putting it out there and putting your dreams out there on top of it and telling the world like I'm a woman. I have this career, education, family, it's all important and I can still have my dream and write.
Yeah.
And I think if
And
anyone can do it, it's going to be you and it's going to be great. And I'm glad that we get to be here in the beginning of it.
Yeah.
thank you. You know
Yeah.
what? It's I appreciate that. And I saw a commencement speech because I'm a nerd on YouTube and I like to make myself cry sometimes. But I saw a commencement speech by Shonda Rhimes who
Mhm.
said, everyone thinks that I have it together, but in reality, when I'm succeeding in one area of my life, I'm failing in another area.
Mm,
And that's like a coming to God moment, very humbling because
Mhm.
mhm,
it's true. Like I'm either being the super mom and I'm not
mhm.
answering work emails.
Yeah.
So my
Mhm.
clients are, I'm not getting to them fast enough. Or I'm writing at night and I'm not putting my child to sleep, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
So it's very much we can do it all. We are absolutely 100% doing it all. And I think
Mm.
I'm not the only woman. I think there's just so many untold stories out there of
Yeah.
women in similar positions. But I think also realizing, yes, I can do it all, but I have to take it easy because at some point I'm going to feel like shit. And at some point, I'm going to feel like I'm losing grasp of everything. So we
Yeah.
can do it all, but it's a very humbling journey, especially as women, when there's
Mhm.
more expectations about what we
Yes.
should be doing.
Yes.
The pressure. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Especially especially with the climate anyway out there and stuff. I
Right.
think yeah.
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 Mhm. Yes, you're
So,
totally right.
mhm.
Well, tell us about as much as you can about book two coming
Yeah.
up.
So, so book two follows the ending of book one. Um, in the book two, Rena finds herself in this completely different environment, and she's
Mhm.
learning to. Book one was her struggle of accepting, like, her legacy and like, if this is something that I want to do, because her father was a very abusive person, and like, do I really want to carry on like his legacy and all that? Book two is her actually um, learning that even though you may accept a identity, parts of yourself that make up your identity, there is always this light versus dark fight within.
Mm.
Sort of like good Spider-Man, bad Spider-Man with the black
Yeah.
suit and the red suit, or like the bad Superman and good Superman. Like,
Mhm.
okay, like yes, I accept that this is part of my identity, but how
Mhm.
will I use that? And can I use that for change?
Mm.
So it's very much a light versus good power moment that she needs to understand. And also, the series Daughters of Chaos, daughters being plural, we will meet two more daughters of this villainous gods. They're like her half sisters that she has no idea exist.
Mhm.
So we'll meet them in the second book. So
Ooh.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
When does the second book come out?
June, oh my gosh.
Oh, you're okay.
For people listening, I'm like eating drinking iced coffee. June 30th of 2025.
That is so exciting.
Coming up.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, very exciting.
Can you
Yeah.
share, is this how many books will be in this series, or do you know yet?
So initially it was just one,
Mhm.
and it was going to be the romance of Helios, the god of the moon and stars, and Rena, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, like it was not working out how I wanted it to work out, and I was like, okay, let's
Mhm.
spread it out with at least three books, and then now there's more characters that are like, wait a minute, can I chime in to like the situation?
Mhm.
So now it's four books. But I do have spin-offs that are already in the works for a lot of characters that people are like, oh my gosh, like you need to tell the story of this person because, you know. So yeah, it's a very broad universe.
Ah,
Yeah.
how exciting. It's like a
Spin-offs. Okay.
whole universe. Love
Yes.
that.
Yes.
I love series that have spin-offs of like smaller or side characters that get their own fleshed out like arcs and stuff. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I really eventually going back to my sci-fi roots, talking about
Hmm.
the migration, what I call in my first book, the migration years from the
Hmm.
humans that left Milky Way to go to the Andromeda. There's a lot of untold stories there as well. So,
Mhm.
um, for the people that really love that sci-fi spaceship act, like, you know,
Hmm.
themes that will come down the line. So, yeah.
That's
Yeah, there's
so cool.
a lot you can do, a lot of stories to be told.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yay. Yay.
So, what do you think is a major theme that you want people to take away from book one or the series, or do you have one?
Yeah, so for book one, the characters deal with all sorts of mental health struggles that are
Hmm.
not particularly named on page, but the readers can potentially maybe identify, like
Hmm.
someone suffers from alcoholism,
Hmm.
and other characters are like, wow, drinking again, so things like that.
Hmm.
There's also, physical abuse that happens and with flashbacks told by the survivor. There's a lot
Hmm.
of PTSD, a lot of anger issues. So I think what people can take away from book one is to seek help, that it's
Hmm.
mental health is so incredibly important, and
Yeah.
that we sometimes need to make it a priority. And from a person that has had multiple therapists, because they just don't all work out, they
Hmm.
may not feel comfortable with someone, to not lose hope and to keep looking for someone that will be able to help you. Not
Hmm.
all therapists are meant for every single person, and you'll eventually find your person, which is, for me, it was so incredible to find a person that fit, because that's how I started writing my series, through their
Hmm.
encouragement and their compassion. So I think mental health and seeking help is so, so incredibly important. So definitely that's for book one
I think that
message.
is such a great message because, and I
Beautiful. Hmm.
particularly, like you said, finding your right therapist, because I think some people they'll go and they'll be like, oh, this therapist wasn't right or their methods
Yeah.
aren't right,
Yeah.
and they get frustrated or they get stuck, or and so that is yeah, it's so discouraging, right? Because you're
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
I'm taking this step, I'm trying to get help, I know I need help, or maybe you've never even gone to therapy before, and now that puts you off
Hmm.
therapy or something. And
Hmm.
so same as a person that's gone to multiple therapists,
Yeah.
um I've like do therapy shopping or therapist
Yeah.
shopping,
And
and
I think,
that's a thing.
yeah. And also for people like minorities, I'm not sure about the Black community, but certainly for Latinos, there's a huge stereotype about,
Mhm.
seeking
It
mental
is.
help, like it doesn't exist, quote unquote.
Hmm.
Now things are changing, but certainly like in the 90s, like if a family member said, I need to see a doctor, I need to see a psychologist, people would laugh. Um,
Ooh.
I I remember the day I got married, my civil ceremony. I went out for lunch because we had the civil ceremony right before the big Catholic shebang.
Hmm.
So for the civil ceremony, we went out for lunch with like a few family members, and during that lunch, I mentioned, oh yeah, like I'm in therapy, to deal with anxiety and PTSD and things like that. And there was a person, a family member, who married into my family, who said, oh, why? Are you crazy? Are you like she made
Mm,
such a very disparaging comment about mental health, and
mhm.
she happened to be Hispanic, and it just reinforced this idea that mental health doesn't exist. So I'm
Mhm.
glad that, especially with our generation, we can break through those barriers
Yeah.
Yes.
and make
Yeah.
it a priority, especially for the kids, that we're raising. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah. It's a
important.
great message.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great theme. Yeah. Definitely. Yay.
Yeah.
I love
It
that.
it resonates so true, and I'm sure Ashley and Chanel kind of agree. We're really big advocates of therapy.
Yeah.
Even if people think everything's fine, I feel like some people can always gain something from therapy. And I know I personally went through a ton of therapists before I found one that I truly connect with, and it really has been life changing the time I've spent working with my therapist. So I agree 100%. You just got to find the right person. I think people who try one person, they're like, oh, therapy didn't work for me. I want to tell them it's not necessarily therapy's not working. Maybe you just haven't found the person who's going to work with you the best, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
It's like a coach,
Yeah.
like a football
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Definitely. That's
Okay.
awesome. Yay.
Yeah. Okay, so I just have a couple more questions so we can do our game. This is kind of like
Yep.
a step sideways, but do you have any fun like superstitions or anything like that? Fun little things you have to do when you write? Sometimes people have little quirks and stuff when they write to make sure
Yes.
it's good or whatever. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Jalapeno strawberry mocktails.
Oh,
Like
that's
Mm,
amazing.
there is
sure.
a fake margarita, which is what I call a fake marg, which is
Hmm.
from at my house. Or some sort of fake jalapeno strawberry, maybe watermelon cocktail. Anything
Hmm.
that makes me feel like I am on the beach somewhere far away. Um, Cozy socks and my heating pad. And those are like my must-haves
Good.
that I'm like, okay, I need.
You're in
That
the
sounds
That's
mood,
amazing.
right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's so funny.
absolutely.
I need to try this strawberry jalapeno mock.
Yeah, that sounds
Yes.
delicious.
I
Yeah,
would
Chanel, you
start
should make
naming off
that.
brands here, but like I'm not gonna make this into an advertisement, but I can tell you off camera like the best like mocktails,
Okay,
like
okay.
alternative spirits. So
I love that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last question I have, and then I can leave it to Ashley and Chanel if they have anything to add. Do you have anything now that you've kind of gone through the process and you're a little bit further on with writing, you've published your first book. Do you have anything you wish you could have told yourself starting out that could have made the journey easier for yourself?
yes, that there is no rush. There is
Mm,
no rush. Um, and I'm going to do a little golf analogy here because
mhm,
um, I'm not good at golf, but I know how to golf. And when you're playing golf, you are basically playing against yourself. There's no rush. There's people that pick up a golf club when they're 50 and they're like, they have so many more years to learn. There's no rush. You're not competing against anyone. So, like, when you're
Mhm.
writing a book, write a book for yourself and take the time you need to give out the best product because that's the first impression that someone will get of you. There's only
mm,
one chance to do a good first impression, and that's your book. So I
Yeah.
think
mm,
I see a lot of people online sometimes really burnout or struggling and they're rushing and
mhm,
it's like there's no rush. There's no deadline. Especially if you're an indie author, like you have that flexibility to just breathe. Um,
mm,
so just to give yourself that grace and that opportunity to um, not make it an unpleasant experience, but try to, because it is stressful,
mm,
but to make it as a to make it more of a fun experience rather than one where you're with this, fake deadline that you have. It's like it's gonna be okay. You're gonna
mm.
be fine. I promise. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
That is good advice. So
Hmm.
any new authors listening,
Yes.
take that
Hmm.
advice. Yeah. That's awesome advice. You're like Stacey already said it, but you're just like amazing. I'm
I
so
know.
inspired by you. You just give amazing advice and obviously you're a lawyer, but like you're so smart. God, I want to be you. God,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hmm.
Thank
anyway,
you.
again, I just had to say that before we quit.
And I think your like don't rush advice is so great because it's applicable to like anything really in
Yeah.
life. I always feel like at least for me, I feel like we
Yeah.
always put these deadlines on ourselves with things and
Yeah, whether it's like
yeah.
school or like
Yeah.
getting into a relationship or something, it
Or
can be
even,
applied to
the
anything.
TBRs and like I read
Yes.
200 books. It's like, if you think about it, it takes an author realistically about maybe a year
Hmm.
to produce something that you're holding in your hands.
Yeah.
And it's written in a way to give you a certain experience and emotion and make you question parts of yourself that maybe you hadn't before. Take your time and like savor it. Take your
Mhm.
time and just like read it, breathe through it, make yourself a nice
Hmm.
hot cocoa, just
Hmm.
relax, put it down, think about it, come back to it. Like, you don't need to read
Hmm.
200 books, you don't need to read 150 books. Like,
Hmm.
you can, and that's amazing. That's like super speed. But
Yeah.
like, just enjoy the experience. It's literally one life. We have one life. Like,
Hmm.
don't, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good way of
I love
looking at
that.
it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Savor it. Yeah,
Hmm.
because like someone put their like time and effort and tears, like into this
But
book.
like, for example, if you're reading, like Onyx Storm and you want to get through that, like go for it, girl. Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get
But
to the
like,
end.
but like for other things in life, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Hmm.
there's no
Yeah.
rush. There's no rush.
Yeah. 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 It's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got a game.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Jinx. I was like, I have my this or that, or if you
Yeah.
have one, Stacy, we could do
Sorry
it.
for the constant like throat clearing. I had hearings yesterday and
Oh,
my
you're
throat is
fine.
like,
You're
Yes.
you're
help.
good.
You're
You're
good. Nothing will be when we first started this podcast and do you remember our
Oh
first few episodes?
God.
I was 8 months pregnant and I go back and try to listen to one of them. If it sounds like I'm actively running and recording at the same
She's just
time.
like breathing so heavily, like
I
so
Yeah.
close to
she
the
was
mic
out
Like
of
the whole
breath.
time.
the whole
She
time.
was out of
So
breath.
Chanel, let's do your game. Let's do your game.
Okay.
I feel like you're better at it than me.
It's just a game of this or that, and it's like a book version. So I'm just gonna ask you if you prefer this or that, and then again, Ashley and Stacy can chime in with
Yeah.
Yeah, we
their
jump in.
yeah. Okay, so do you prefer audiobooks or physical books?
Physical.
Yeah, that's the better answer.
Yeah.
I like to
Yeah.
listen to audiobooks, but I love to like if I love the audiobook, then I just like to buy the book as like a trophy.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that
That's
makes
right.
sense.
Actually,
I think
that's
I'm
a
the
good answer.
opposite. If I love a book, I'm like, wait a minute. What does Priest sound like
Oh.
with the male narrator? So
Hmm.
let's buy the audiobook as well.
Oh, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Yeah, I like
actually,
that. Hmm.
yeah, that's actually
It's a
really
great
good.
experience for anyone wondering.
Yeah.
Sarah Simone,
Um,
Priest.
do you prefer hardback or paperback?
Oh man, that's a hard one. Um, I would say paperback, but then I have a few that are like unequivocally hardback, like a guitar or like these other beautiful
Mm-hmm.
books with beautiful
They're like
like
special books.
yeah.
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 I'm the same way. I like to read with paperback for some reason. And then if I really love it, then I like having a hardback of it. Like Ashley
Yes.
said, like a trophy, just like
Yes.
up
Yes.
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
Sure. Okay. Well, I guess you've kind of already answered this. Do you prefer to write in the morning or at night?
In the
And
night. But like, for example, on the weekends, like I'm gonna be writing all day today. This is like an all hands on deck weekend with my mom and my husband. I'm like, I need to get my editor the edits to return the edits. So like
Mhm.
I need you guys to help me. So like after our conversation, I'm going to be writing for the rest of the day. So
Gotcha. Okay. So an
Nice,
all
nice.
day. Gotcha. Okay. Do you
yes.
prefer, and again, this we kind of already answered, but binge read or slow read?
Oh yeah, that depends. So like if we're reading
Mhm.
something that's like hot right now, I'm like, okay, let's go. But
Mhm.
like for example, I love this is author that I love. Her name is Lindsay Sands. And Lindsay Sands writes not only does she have a super successful like 40 book catalog, 40
Whoa.
plus book catalog of vampires, um, but she also has an incredible saga of these Highland, like old, like 1800s, like Highlander romance called the Highland Brides. And those, even though I've read them, I will just sit and I will just savor them and I would just read them slowly, read them again. So yeah, it really depends.
Oh man,
yeah.
I just looked her
Whoa.
up. The covers of
The
her books are like
covers.
perfect.
Yes.
Like
I know.
Wait, say the name again because I want to look it up now.
Steamy.
Lindsay
Steamy.
Sands.
Lindsay Sands.
She has a vampire,
Yes.
like vampire universe, and then she has
Look
the
up the Highlander
Highland
one.
Brides, and the brothers. Oh my God!
I
Those-
just like
Yeah, I'm gonna send her this bit. It's like stalk her on Instagram. I'm just gonna be like, look, I talked about your books.
These
No,
covers
they're
are
like
steamy.
literally beautiful.
mhm.
Wow.
It's not like like her Highlander books are like maybe medium spice,
Mhm.
but I mean
Okay.
they're like shirtless Highlanders. Like
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
On a
this-
table against the books. Like, yes, we're doing it.
We're doing it. I would literally buy these. I can be such a cover buy. Like I buy books by a cover a lot of times,
Yes.
and I have such a weird love for the aesthetic of the shirtless model on the covers. Like
Yep.
I just love the whole. I love everything about it. So
Oh, yeah.
that's great.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, these wow.
Chanel's still
know.
looking.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we're
sorry.
going to the next question. Okay. Do you like fated mates or forbidden love?
Okay. I'm a Scorpio, so I think I'm going to go with Forbidden Love because I'm dramatic. I'm a toxic girl like that. In Spanish, tóxica, I am toxic AF. So I'm going to go with Forbidden Love.
Ooh, okay, I like
Love
it.
it.
I like it.
Mhm.
Okay, do you prefer books that make you cry or books that make you laugh?
I guess it depends, but I think
Mhm.
crying is better.
Mhm.
Gets you deep. Okay.
Yeah. And
Do you like
especially if they have a little comedic relief in the middle.
Yeah.
And they
it
plunge you
breaks it
into
up.
dark. Yeah. It's
Yeah, it breaks it up a little
like a
bit.
roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah. Do you like reading with music on or in silence?
Silence. I write with music and I read in silence.
Ooh,
Oh,
I love that.
you write with music. Okay, yeah. Okay, do you prefer the hero or the villain?
Villain.
Yes, always.
Always.
Always
Mhm.
the villain.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. And you know what? For my second book, I have a quote in there where I say, only the villain can teach us the full extent of our humanity.
Mm,
Because
like
the
that.
villain goes through all of the human extremes of emotion
Yeah.
yeah,
because
Mhm.
of their story. So
Yeah.
that's why villains are fascinating to me.
they
Yeah.
are.
Mhm.
That's so true.
I just
So
feel a lot the complexities there usually with the
Yes.
villain, which I love.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh,
yes.
100%. They have a lot more drama. They're drama babies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Trauma babies.
Okay. Do you like plot-driven or character-driven books?
If there was like a 50-50, I'd probably be in the middle. But probably plot. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm reading Regency, it's gonna always be character.
Yes,
if
that's
I'm
how I
reading
feel.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. I have
I
so many
love-
Regency recs. Yeah.
I want them all. I love
That's
Ashley's bread and
character-driven.
butter.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
character driven.
Oh,
I want to
hold on,
fall in
wait.
love with
Hold on,
these
I'm gonna
people.
wild child. Hold on. Okay, so rec for you, Eloisa James. Her book Wild with an E, Wild Child. That book is amazing.
Oh, yes, there it is.
So good.
Oh, I love the cover of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley
Okay,
loves it. I
good.
love it.
Sometimes I mean I love a good plot too, but sometimes there's so much happening. I'm just like, I just want to be with the characters for a minute.
Yeah.
There's just so much happening so
Yeah.
quickly.
Mhm.
Just give me like an arranged romance and we're set.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
but just let me not think like about the world collapsing for this period of time, and let me just feel like,
Literally.
yeah,
Literally. Let me dissociate let me
Yes.
be okay for
before I
however
go
long it takes
back
me
to my fourth wing.
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Fight dragons. Let me just have like a Regency break, and let me
Uh-huh.
just yeah.
You guys are so funny. Okay, enemies to lovers or friends to lovers?
Enemies to lovers.
Always.
Classic, classic.
Always.
Okay, do you like a love triangle or forced proximity?
Love triangle.
Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, last one. Do you like a happy ending or like a very tragic story in the middle? Tragic ending.
Tragic.
Ugh, now I'm nervous. Look, Ashley's like, I'm nervous. I'm gonna read these books and I'm nervous.
I'm
I'm
actually
be heartbroken.
Ashley loves a happy ending, so
I want
it's
it all
gonna be
tied up
Well,
in a little bow.
Yeah.
tragic with a happy ending.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can get
Ooh,
behind that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, like a mix of both. Tragic
Yes.
story and
I
a
do
nice
like a
end.
little like trick at the end sometimes, and they're like, "Oh, it's so terrible," and you think everything is like tragic, and then there's like an episode, and it's not as bad as you think it is, or
Yes,
something like
yeah.
that's
Yes.
nice too. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have read this. I love that Ashley is always like, I love a happy ending. And like one of her top 5 favorite books is Me Before You, which is like the most tragic ending of any book. It's just
no,
like, I love a happy ending.
no, but seriously, I don't think people realize that Me Before You is a book series, and there's 3 books in the
Oh,
series,
okay.
and it's
Yeah.
one of the best series I've ever read. And if you And actually, I think it's the 3rd book in the series, in my opinion, is like the better book of all of them. And it really is such a good story. It like
Okay.
breaks your heart and then puts it back together.
I'm gonna read it.
Yes.
I'm gonna
It's
read
so
it.
good.
Oh,
So
yeah, you'll
good.
love it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
gonna read it.
so
You'll love
tragic
it.
with a happy ending. Okay,
Yes,
Ashley.
right.
Tragic with happy
You can
end.
break me down, but you got to build me back up. So.
Ashley gets me. Yep, there we go.
Yes, I do. I do. I do.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay,
Gosh.
you won the game. Woo.
You won the game.
More mocktail margaritas for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You get it. Spicy marg.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, now we can wrap it up, Stace.
Yeah. So at the end of our interviews, our podcast started with like fan fictions and things like that. So we always like to end with a kudos from like AO3, the website. You could leave kudos for authors. So we like to kudos people for the week. So we'll do one, and then if you feel like you want to do one, you're more than welcome. Please do. We love it.
But no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. we'll go
Um,
around.
so I'll start my first kudos, and I know Ashley and Chanel are going to steal it, but obviously, thank you so much for coming on today. We always get excited when we get the chance to interview someone, but I truly feel inspired after talking to you. You're
Mhm.
such a lovely human, and I feel very lucky that our listeners will get to hear this interview when it comes out. So
Thank
I'll
you.
be talking
Thank
about
you
it for
for
a
the
while.
opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Thank
Yeah.
you.
thank you so
I'm
much.
definitely gonna piggyback off that and say kudos to you. Thank you again. Just for like seems like your life is very filled, and so making
Busy.
the time
Mhm.
to just come on and chat with us for an hour, and like Stacy says, like inspired by you. Like you were
Mhm.
just so smart and brilliant and so lovely and nice to talk to. So thank you. My other kudos is my best friend Molly. Her birthday is tomorrow. So I just want to say happy birthday, Molly.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Molly!
Birthday. I stalk you on Instagram all the time. Okay, so mine's going to be the same as theirs, but thank you so much, Mina, for coming on, and taking time out of your busy schedule. And me personally, this has just been like such an uplifting
Mhm.
and like Stacey said, inspiring episode, especially with, it was just much needed, I guess, in the everything going on right now. And it's been
Yeah.
a little bit of a not so great time. So like what a light
Mhm.
to have today
light.
and
Mhm.
talk to you. And yeah, it's just you're amazing and so much happiness today. So thank you so much for taking time away from all your jobs and being a mom for just a little bit with us. We
Yeah.
really, really
Oh,
appreciate it.
We're
thank you
super
so
excited
much.
to read this book too.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it sounds
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And I want to piggyback off what Chanel said about um just being here, talking with you guys. Like one of the things that I also want the listeners to take away is that it's okay to ask for help, because I wouldn't be able to have this podcast if I hadn't asked for help and said to my husband, listen, like I need help with managing my morning, and I need you to please take care of our child and to do all these things, and like just being vocal and realizing like, yeah, I can do it all, but I can also ask for help. So
Yeah.
definitely that's like a big takeaway. And just a shout out for you guys for having, having the space so that I could come and talk with you. And also for talking to other authors and giving them the platform as well. Thank you for that. And shout out to my friend Sarah Yeager, who is like I said, paranormal shifter romance writer, and then to Molly, my friend Molly. Molly Tullis, who both Sarah and her have just been such incredible lights in my life and guided me and made this process a little easier as an indie. So yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
incredible.
awesome.
We love a good support system, good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. You need them. Well,
Yeah.
thank you again. Thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Okay, nerds, make sure you have a safe week and make sure you read what you like.
Okay, hold on.
Ashley can never find the button to turn off the recording.
It's
This is
because no, I do know where it
They
is. It's just
move
when I
it.
make it
and they move
smaller.
it. No, they
They
move
do
it.
move